And now, here again is our guest, Father Patrick Brennan. Father Pat, in times of stress, times of fear, you say stay strong, we will, but people react in different ways. Are they turning more toward the church? Is attendance up? Are they seeking spiritual guidance at a time like this?
I think across denominations you would find that attendance is up. In fact, after the September 11th accident, or terrorism rather, we weren't even publicly announcing services, but we would have services almost every day at different times, and the church would be full. The weekend after the act of terrorism, the church was packed, and I know this is true in other churches also. And the feelings were just all over the place. I would sometimes open up homily time just to get what people were feeling, and they talked about sadness and depression and anxiety and fear. And many folks away from church for a long time tearfully came up to me and said, I want to come back. God's been the missing piece in my life. I realize now I need God. I need a community. I need a church. So it has been a remarkable time to be a pastor, to see what this incident has done to people.
Evangelization, of course, is a very strong thrust in your ministry and what you do, and you're carrying on this message throughout the year. But at a time like this, when it's particularly stressful, are there certain things? We heard your sermon today and what you said about be strong and deal with fear and this kind of thing. But are there scriptures that you turn to at a time like this that you help guide people through this period?
Well, I see evangelization as essentially trying to present people with the vision of Jesus in our case. And that vision is encased in his preaching on the reign of God. So whenever you're going through the scriptures and you hear Jesus talking about the reign of God, he's talking about this vision of life that we ought to have. And basically what I try to ask people to do or help people to do is get in touch with the depths of your humanity. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to have all sorts of feelings about what we're going through. But ultimately we need to surrender heart and mind to this understanding of God, in our case as revealed by Jesus Christ. A God who is all loving. A God who is for us. A God who, as St. Paul says, will always work all things to our benefit. I just think we have to have a passionate, convictional faith about that God. And I use Psalm 31, Luke 24 a lot. Into your hands I commend my spirit. Into your hands I hand over my life.
And of course you mentioned that in your talk here today. It's a stressful time. People react in different ways. A lot of it is anger. I heard a marvelous sermon by a minister saying that this is a time maybe for us to tear down walls rather than to build walls. People have different religious beliefs, different approaches. How do you see this happening now? Are we going further apart, or is this going to bring us closer together?
Well, I think whenever we enter into a realm of at times fundamentalism, and fundamentalism exists in all the faiths, we get farther apart. I think what's really called for here, and what God is calling us to, is a shared consciousness or a shared vision. Whether we're Hindu or Islam or Christian or Jew or Buddhist or whatever our faith expression, there must be common life-giving elements that we share, that we can create a collective consciousness about. I really believe that's what Jesus was trying to do with his reign of God preaching. And I don't think he was so much into denominationalism as much as he was, let us accept God as our sovereign and live in communion and love, service, and justice with each other. I think the great world religions need to move towards that consciousness, that kind of consciousness that's probably a long time in coming because of the severity of the conflict and the anger that we're up against now. But I certainly wish, in a spirit of ecumenism, we could move towards that shared consciousness.
Got about a minute. In this length of time, could you give a little guidance to those who are viewing us at this time Is there a way we can get a better understanding of the other religions? I'm sure that you probably are teaching this in the church itself. What should an individual do?
I think it's good for us to study religions other than our own. We have a series running in our parish called Insight, and especially around this incident, we've asked speakers to come in to educate us about Islam. A lot of Christians, a lot of Catholics don't understand a lot about Islam, don't understand a lot about Judaism. So I think it's very important, whether we do it through formal learning sessions or do it through our own private reading, to understand other faiths. That's part of the empathy I talked about earlier that can lead us to greater forgiveness and reconciliation, to understand other people.
Father Pat, always a pleasure. Thank you very, very much.